Alright, it's time to do this again because I have no control over my life.
Woo!
That's a weird thing to woo. Hi guys, welcome back to 5 Shots 5 Bots. You guys might remember I did this last year, and we had a lot of fun.
Woo!
That's a good thing to woo. So we're back again, we're doing it again, and I want to remind everyone that drinking is not entirely safe, so drink responsibly, know your limits, make sure you're of age, you young pieces of shit. And let's crack this thing open. What woman? Shot number 1, here we go. It's good whiskey. My cat is going to hand me a figure at random, so sweetie, if you please. So figure number 1 is going to be Shadow Strike Bumblebee, or as he's going to be known from now on, Shattered Glass Bumblebee. Yeah, I gotta get this out of the way. I made it so that way he's actually the Shattered Glass Bumblebee. That is the same from Crosshairs Productions Transformers Broken Mirror. Because I've got a Shattered Glass type of thing coming up soon, relatively, and I can't see Shattered Glass Bumblebee any other way. As you guys may know from the past, I actually used to have the RID Hotshot figure, and I'm pretty sure I used to have the RID Bumblebee figure. And because this is the way I do things, I'm going to take a swig off the bottle for both of them from the past. But yeah, this has to be a decent enough figure for me to have it 3 times in my collection at some point. And a good figure it is. Granted, I think for a regular Bumblebee, I would say go for the first edition as an actual representation of how he looked in the show. But for Hotshot and Shattered Glass Bumblebee, as we have here, this is actually a good figure to have. Now, some of you guys may know he actually did come with some arm cannons, one for each arm, or one that he can hold in his hands or stack together, you know how it is. But they were bright yellow, and they didn't even come with the figure when I got it, so even if I didn't want them, which I didn't, I wouldn't have them with it anyway. So since it being the way that it is, I actually give him the gun from Combiner Wars Streetwise, because I think a triple barrel shotgun fits an evil dude so much better. Now, as I said, he's based off of the Crosshairs Productions Shattered Glass Bumblebee, and as such, I gave him the red eyes and the scar right down his head. So if that's copyright infringement, I'm sorry, Joe. We'll call it a connected universe. Does that sound good? Anyway, why don't we get on down to the transformation now? It's an easy transformation. The vehicle mode looks really good. Doesn't have painted rims at all, but it doesn't really bother me that much. Never really does for figures. I painted some gold back here for the rear taillights, and I also painted these tailpipes silver. And as you know, I gave him the Shattered Glass Autobot symbol. Now this hole on the top here is actually where you would put those yellow guns and stack them up. But again, since I don't have them and didn't want them, we'll just do that. And equally, it looks dumb as hell. So we'll just be a good person and we'll just store that on the side and let this vehicle mode be actually good. How's that sound? Alrighty, that's 1 down. On to number 2. Number 2, down the hatch. Random figure number 2, please. What do we got here? Ooh, it's Power of the Primes Jazz. Now, right off the bat, you can already tell, just by this over here, I've done a little work on this figure. Painted both of his hands black. I gave the little thing up here and up here a little bit of paint work so that way it flows a little better in vehicle mode. I gave him an actual mouth because without it, it would just be kind of mushy. Although now I'm not really a huge fan of it, but it's better than having like just a mushy mouth. Gave him some blue down here on the waist. Painted silver on all the wheels, and I even gave him his little thing right here for vehicle mode, the little blue and red stripe. But like I said, we'll get to that in vehicle mode. But the reason I did that is because there wasn't a whole lot of paint for this guy, and it made him kind of look bland. And I'd get upset about that, but I do know where it all went. This entire hood section right here, and this back section here, is all clear plastic, which means it had to be painted over. And because all of it needed to be painted over so that way it would match in the vehicle mode, that's where the budget went. So as much as I'd like to be mad, I can't be. Plus, all I am is a customer. I can't tell Hasbro how to do its job. It's been giving us great figures ever since I came into liking Transformers. Now, another point of contention is that he doesn't have his door wings. They're actually the panels on the backs of his arms here. And I've heard this complaint from even a few of my friends of mine. And that's fine. They have their own opinion on what their favorite Jazz is, whether it's this one or the Reveal the Shield one. But I do need to point this out. The G1 toy did have door wings, yes. But in the G1 cartoon, Jazz did not have door wings. Jazz in the show did not have door wings. So whatever your term for accuracy is, that's your prerogative. For me, I'm perfectly fine with having an Autobot without door wings. There's going to be at least 3 of them as it is with Prowl, Blue Streak, and Smokescreen. So having this guy with just the hood chest and with outdoor wings is perfectly fine. Now that we've gotten all that out of the way, why don't we head on over to the vehicle mode? I'm not actually going to show off the combined mode because that's one of the things that Power of the Primes is doing. It's basically Combiner Wars again. I mean, yeah, having Jazz for a Combiner limb is cool and all. That's not what I want this Jazz for. I want this Jazz so that way he will be on my classic shelf. So that way he'll be a decent figure for my classic shelf. So for me, the combined mode doesn't really matter. This is another thing that I've heard people don't like, is that it's kind of difficult for things to stay together. And yes, that is kind of a problem, but mine actually hasn't had much of a problem like that until now. And, and I'm willing to bet it's just because the camera's on. Well, it's not just because of that. It's probably also because I've been drinking. Anyway, here we are in the vehicle mode. Now you might not be able to tell I've done a whole lot because it just looks like there's still things there. But I added a little bit more red up here above the floor, and I added some stuff right up here above this, or below this vent here, just to like kind of make it match. Just that way it flows a little better without having to be broken up by lack of paint. Also gave these things back here some paint, and painted in the taillights and these little things by it. And you know, the rims and the thing going all down the side. Yeah, I showed that off in robot mode. Now, Power of the Primes Deluxe comes with this thing called Prime Armor. And you can slap it on robot mode, you can slap it on the vehicle mode, but objectively it looks terrible. But you do have these 3 ports up here so that way you can stick the gun into. I prefer to stick it in on one of these side ones. Just that way it looks slightly less ridiculous. Now, we're getting back into serious territory here. You see that black Autobot symbol right there? I'm sure that everybody knows this by this point, but there's some little Cybertronian writing below that, and some people have deciphered it to spell out MAGA, MAGA, which, if you're not paying attention to the political spectrum of the world, that is the acronym for the slogan of Donald Trump's campaign, Make America Great Again. I'm sure that everyone has heard it by this point, and it's probably been one of the main reasons why people don't want to get it. And yes, it's a big problem. Hasbro even stated that it was a third party who added it onto the figure without their knowledge. But that shouldn't really stop people from getting this figure. Yes, politics do not belong on a children's toy. That's just a fact that needs to be addressed. But, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinion, this is not a bad toy. Plus, the writing isn't Cybertronian. I'm not really going to notice any other time. I wouldn't have even noticed if someone didn't point it out. So, not a big thing for me. To me, I'm just happy to have this figure at all. Granted, because I didn't have the standard Reveal the Shield one, but I did have Wheelie, which I then turned into Treadshot. Damn. Anyway, yes, Jazz has a lot of contention and all that type of things with his backstory. But to me, it's a good figure, and I'm glad to have it in my collection. And you should be seeing it pretty soon in stop motions, even though by this point you've already seen it in at least one Go Figure episode. So there's number 2. Actually, no, I almost forgot. I also did want to quickly talk about the War for Cybertron Jazz. Again, you can tell I've done a lot of painting on this figure, yada yada yada. A lot of people don't think this is a great figure, and objectively, it's not that great of a figure. But Hasbro did the best that they could for the time when this was made. It has some problems. It has lack of paint, if you don't paint it yourself. And it just seems weird at times. But it's a good Jazz figure, and I love the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron designs for figures, and I wish that we could get some more. Which is why I turn to Planet X at times. And by turn to Planet X at times, I mean I've never turned to Planet X, but I do have the Fall of Cybertron Onslaught, but we'll talk about that later. The point is, I like the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron designs. I want more of them. And I really, really, really wish that we could have gotten an Ironhide and Ratchet. Speaking of War for Cybertron, you guys have heard about the new line coming up, right? It's called the War for Cybertron line. It's supposed to be taking place before or during the war, about some type of thing. Which one of those 3 fan votes did you vote for? I actually voted for Spinister and the other one on Facebook, and I voted for Neil Knows and the other one on Instagram. But Impactor won, which is good. People are like, oh, why is it Decepticon? I'm just like, I don't know, we'll find out. If you don't like it, you can get rid of labels. That's just a whole thing that me and my friends have been talking about. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about this. I love Jazz in his Cybertronian mode, and seeing it in toy form is just a real treat. As you saw, I took his gun off from the port up here. You got ports on the side from where his hands were. One of the main issues with his vehicle mode is the lack of red paint, which I painted on here on the back, and his hands are blatantly obvious. If you don't like the hands being so obvious here on the back, there is a part on Shapeways that you can buy, and if you want it, you should buy it. Now on to shot number 3. What am I on? Number 3, I said?
Yeah.
Number 3. Random figure number 3, please. Titans Return Octone. Now, before we get too deep into this guy is Octane. That's what I'm going to be referring to as from now on. But on the boxes, it's Octone for some stupid reason. I don't know. Licensing issues. Anyway, as you guys probably saw, early on in the Titans Return wave, like wave 2, 3, something like that, this guy was actually Optimus Prime first, which I'm not a whole fan. I'm not a huge fan of the pre-paint thing, but it's a thing that happens, so whatever. This mold is definitely supposed to be Octane, and Octane is where it shines. Now, I never had the original Universe Octane figure, which means I don't need to do a pull off of the bottle for that. Yet, for some reason, he went by Tankor in that line, and it's like, why? And then, like, Tankor showed up in Generations a few years ago as who he's supposed to be, and it's just like, what? For people who don't, well, it was like that for the people who didn't just straight up call the Universe Classics 1 Octane like it was supposed to be. Which, if I had that figure, I would have. So you can do this silly Titans Return Prime Titan Master gimmick, and that's what his little head dude looks like. And you can do that if you want to, and you kind of have to do that for the transformation. But in all honesty, it's like not that big of a deal if you don't do that, like with a lot of these Titans Return figures. For these types of dudes, you're fine without having to do that. I don't exactly know what I mean by that, but that's what we're going with. Anyway, on to the transformation. Another thing I didn't point out is in robot mode you can do this stupid thing where you can give him horns, and it's just like, no, bad. Anyway, continuing on with the transformation. 3D, what mode should I go into first? Truck mode or jet mode?
Jet mode.
Jet mode it is. I haven't played with this figure in such a while. I forgot how to transform it. Again, it could just be a case of I'm getting pretty drunk. That's probably why. Need to transform it correctly. Fuck it, we're going with it. It's basically done. There's this jet mode, and it actually looks pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, it looks pretty good, I think. One thing that I'm not really a fan of, and that a lot of people aren't a fan of, is that there's blatant truck bits hanging off the back here. But it's fine. Octane was always a triple changer, so it's kind of forgivable that he has some of his other bits from his other mode hanging over. You can stick the Titan Master right in here if you want, but it's fine if you just leave him off to the side, especially with me because I'm just messing with it and then putting it back in the box later. Anyway, that's the jet mode. Let's move on to the truck mode. I have that better than you, so I'm stuck in my head. You can't camp. That's what we're going with. Here's his truck mode. It's a big old tanker truck. I'm 100% positive I mistransformed it in multiple ways.
Ooh, shiny.
You admiring the stickers?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's Octane in his truck mode, and we're going to move on now. Number 4. Okay, I guess we're doing this one. Combiner Wars Onslaught. Now we'll get this out of the way real quick. Yes, I do have the Combiner Wars Hotspot and the Microblade Creation Military Titans. The Combiner Wars Onslaught is actually really cool. I definitely like him as much as I like Hotspot, but with the retooling that they did, they made him look a lot cooler. Much more badass body type with the Decepticon. I added some paints here and there, and yeah, I'm really happy to have this. I don't remember when I found this. It was semi-recently, but I can't remember where we were. Anyway, it was semi-recently. I'm really happy, and I can't wait to get the other Combaticons as well, so that way I can make Bruticus. And again, I'm not going to be showing up the combine mode because I don't have the other Combaticons, but if you want to look it up, there are plenty of reviewers out there who have done it, so go check that out. But for now, I'm just going to sit here and drink and be a weird piece of shit and just transform toys. We've been watching a lot of Camp recently from Rooster Teeth, and it is fucking amazing. Oh, excuse me. You're opening up your other mics hard?
Yes, I am.
Good.
I want to feel what it's like to be normal.
We'll never know what it feels like to be normal.
And that's a good thing.
Especially because normal is a relative term that doesn't exactly mean anything in my book.
It doesn't exist!
Normal is just a relative term that people use so that way they can justify their own type of existence. Is that the kind of drunk I'm going to be tonight? I'm going to be an existential crisis type of drunk. Oh fuck. Onslaught in vehicle mode. Keeping that in. Looks pretty good. especially for it being a Hotspot remold. Like, that was the front for Hotspot, but like, fuck, it's all going terribly, terribly wrong. Like, that was the front for Hotspot, but like, they repurposed this end to be a front with these new flap things. It's just like, it works so well for Onslaught. One thing I'm not really a huge fan of is that they kept the light bars right there on his legs. I don't know, it's not that big of a deal, is it? Yeah, Onslaught is good. I'm really happy to have him. Let's move on to our fifth and final one. I don't remember how full this was when we first started, but that's where we're at right now.
Like right there.
Sounds about right. I don't know. Anyway, number 5. Generations Roadbuster. Now, I got this from a friend of mine. I got this from my friend Kid Convoy 82? Yes, 82. Which I forgot to mention. I got Prime Shadow Strike Bumblebee from Larry of Larry Arts Productions. So, hi Larry, thank you so much for sending me things. He sent me a lot of things, but I did an unboxing video of that, so you can go check that out. But yeah, Roadbuster here was sent by my friend Kid Convoy 82, and I'm so happy to have him. He's a lot better than this Roadbuster figure who was made from Swindle. I'm really happy to have this new one in my collection. Now, Roadbuster here is a great figure. Kid Convoy didn't put on all the stickers on here. He decided to go with the Autobot sticker instead of the Wrecker sticker, which is what I would have gone with, so I'm not going to fault him for that. But if you buy this figure, he's going to come with a big sticker sheet. He's going to come with a lot more stickers, and it's going to come with the option of giving him this big Autobot symbol on his chest or the Wrecker symbol, so you'll just need to choose that. Me personally, I would have also chosen the Autobot symbol. But lately I've been becoming a huge fan of like different faction symbols or like different versions of faction symbols like Cybertron Defense Team or the Elite Guard. So maybe one day I'll just like slap a blue Wrecker symbol somewhere on this guy in the future. Depends on if I ever get the time to buy Repo labels. And by time, I mean if I ever get a job.
Speaking of the Elite Guard, Sentinel Prime. Bitch.
We finished watching Animated Semi recently, and she liked it, but she really hates Sentinel, like most people do. Because
he's a bitch!
He's a really hateable Autobot, and they made him that way, so that's good. You felt the things that they wanted you to feel. Anyway, let's move on to the weapons that he has. He has this little gun right here. He has this missile launcher right up here in his shoulder pads. And this big gun right here is comprised of 3 guns. The rifle, which he's actually holding, this little top thing, which is another separate piece, and the thing right behind it, which is another separate piece. And he also came with another rifle, which is actually a spring-loaded thing, but I keep that in the bag of weapons of no return. He's really cool. He looks as Roadbuster should. He's a good stand-in if you want a IDW Roadbuster, which reminds me I do need to get Generations World back because he's a good cross between IDW and G1 as well. Just like this guy. Holy fuck, I'm tipsy. I've done a little paint work on him as well, like I do with all my figures. Gave him some red things on his knees, which will come across in vehicle mode. Silver things, I believe I did these 2, but not these ones on his shoulders. Anyway, onto the vehicle mode. Really hope I don't break this. I'm not gonna break it. Oh fuck, how does this go?
You good there?
I should not be playing with toys when I'm drunk. What am I doing with my life? This is probably one of the reasons why I don't have a job. Roadbuster in vehicle mode. Holy crap, this thing looks awesome. He's a big armored vehicle. I think Thew said it best when he called it a 4x4 by fuck off, because this thing looks badass as hell. And you can add all the weapons onto the back. You can configure these weapons all over the vehicle mode in a lot of ways because he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ports for all the weapons, which means that you can put 1 on each port. But yeah, Roadbuster is a great figure. I'm really glad to have him in my collection. If you're able to find him, go pick him up. Alright, and that's been 5 shots, 5 butts to ow. It's probably about as much as last time when I drank.
Probably.
Which is like 7 or 8. Which, if I did 10 shots like Thew did, and his regular types of things, 1, I'd be fucking plastered and be gone. 2, yeah, I definitely would have drank more than 10 because I would have more to say about other figures I own, other figures I used to own, or other figures I didn't own but are like worth talking about. And I would have taken sways off the bottle for it. And you know what? 1 more for good measure. So that's been another video from me. I've been Zero One Trans Fan. You've all been awesome. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.